Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operation to restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, Wanwan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Well, what a show we have for you tonight. But first, we have to warn you, girls, it's time to sit down. Get your mister, get your fan, get your big box of Kleenex, your big box of wipes, your squeegee, and some lube. Because the very famous Wan is here.
Hey, load up on that lube. Hi, Mac.
Load up on the
Hi,
lube.
Girls, guys, everywhere.
Wow. Yikes.
I'm trying to hit the ground running tonight.
Good.
I don't know if I'm going to make it because I'm going to kick it off with KBS.
No.
You know, so
we'll explain
be
that.
warned and beware.
It's like 11% alcohol.
How's it going, Mac? I haven't seen you for a while.
Yep.
And,
Yep. Everything's good.
Cool with your car and stuff.
Yep. Got my Corvette fixed, serviced. It just needed a little extra oil in there or something. So everything is good. So,
Ray.
okay.
Yeah, baby.
Now for the bad news. MILFs, GILFs, and Gigi Gilfs. No Coco tonight. He's on a secret mission.
Wow, that's outrageous.
Let me let that sink in. Okay? But taking his place on the food chain, which I know this really turns him on, is our national correspondent up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, home of the Flakes, Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
It is great to be here, and I'm trying to maintain my excitement.
Hey, Switchy, how are you?
Being so turned down and everything.
Wow. Okay. Maintain his excitement. Interesting. All right. We're going to go right.
You haven't done any walking on the ice in Lake Michigan and not knowing you're walking on ice, have you?
No, you see too many newsreels of people that step out on the ice and suddenly it separates and the Coast Guard's out looking for them.
Yeah, right.
So I figure I'm just going to stay home and watch the newsreels.
Yes, right.
They're stranded like polar bears.
Forgive me, dumb
I
enough
was
to
just
do
going to
that.
say that, like the polar bears.
So we're going to go sideways here to Security Chief Willie Clubb. Willie, how you doing tonight?
Oh, it's always good when I'm going sideways.
Well, you know.
It's great, Mac. Hi, folks.
Hi, Willie.
Hey,
Okay.
By the way, I did want to remark on the appearance of our friend out in the Midwest there. I got to say, your piece tonight is exceptional. But
Exceptional.
anyways, I just wanted, while I think of it,
I
was
paid a
reading the
bundle
thing.
for it, Club.
Oh, I can tell, but like Sinatra used to do. But anyways, I had to share this with you. Yesterday, I was reading this article from NASA.
Yes.
Where they have developed up in the space station up there. They're doing a lot of development.
Yes.
They've come up with this new adhesive. And it's adhesive, you can adhere things to your skin. Like they say now, you're going to be able to have a wristwatch on your
skin
without having any kind of attachment. You won't need any kind of straps. But anyways, they're looking into it now for people that have issues of, wearing hair devices.
Yes.
And,
I knew that's where this was going,
this
baby.
Is cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you the link on it, which I don't have it right here.
I don't even know
looking
how
forward to it.
this started,
If it works, all you got to do is you put a couple of drops of this stuff. It's like a super, adhesive. And then you pat down your device or whatever they call
System.
it.
What about airflow, Club? You got to have,
No,
any
this
little
thing.
vents in there?
No, this thing. You read
He
that
knows.
it's pretty
He
extensive.
knows.
NASA has
I gotta
taken
tell
care
you,
of it.
You should see what they're thinking of. You can go in the water, you can swim, you can do everything. You can't even pull it off.
Wow.
And the thing is, I know you have a lot of trouble with you cut your hairpiece in the center. Sometimes your path moves.
Wow.
You never have to worry about it. It doesn't shift.
Wow.
And all you do to take it off is use a hairdryer for about 2 minutes. And the adhesive apparently evaporates or something. So, anyways, after the show, I'll share the link with you.
That's too much trouble.
Excited.
I was going to say,
I have 6 or 7 different hair pieces. Each one's a little bit longer than the other.
For every day
so
of the
I give
week.
the illusion that I went and got a haircut. And then I use but I just, that's too much trouble.
I think you're at Switchy. Your hairpiece won't be blowing in the wind.
That's right.
You're going to be excited when you see this
Anyway.
technology.
I'm already pretty excited.
Luckily, we have another semi-law enforcement person with us. No, I don't know. He's not law enforcement. I'm not talking about you, Jocko. I'm talking about Agent X is here tonight. X.
Secret agent, baby.
The man who works for the agency that works for the agencies. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, and I am so complimented to be among this august group of contributors.
Were you taking notes when he was talking about the hairpiece thing? Because you might be in line for that type of thing, then, my friend.
No, that's because the light's in front of me. However, I will tell Clubber that they have a solution for people with hair problems, and it's 3,000 years old, and it's called a hat.
A hat.
And if you just look among this crew, you will see
I got one on.
That solution has been well employed here.
Okay, thank you, X.
I got more than I could put under
cut that out. Okay, listen. Me too.
See, I'm a hair guy myself. I'm not a hat guy.
Yep.
So that's why, that's why I like to share this stuff.
I see. Okay, that's good. That other voice you heard, the other guy with the hat on is our Southern correspondent, Jocko Johnson. Jojo, how you doing?
Good evening, sir. Doing okay. As best as can be expected.
Okay. We have a special guest with us, okay? Our good friend and also our favorite empath, Valerie Lofaso. Valerie, how you doing?
Great, Mac. It's good to be back. It's been a while since I've seen all you guys, so I'm happy to be here.
Good to see you, Valerie.
Have we changed at all mentally, you think?
It's too early in the show.
Yeah, good. No, we haven't changed.
Let's talk about that halfway.
The energy today is weird overall. It's not from the show. It's just the energy of the day has been full of anxiety. I don't know if anybody else has felt that, but it's been weird today.
It's kind of a weird day today.
Like everything.
I don't think we've matured any. I think that's what she means.
I just want to say that, we should be a TV show, but, regular listeners who have heard Valerie before, she's someone who looks like she's trapped in an 18-year-old's body. How dirty does that sound? Holy cow. I got to take that out. What I'm just trying to say is we always comment on this, is that you are someone who, don't tell your real age, but you look like you're many, many 18 years younger than you really are. Will you accept that?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a family curse.
A curse? It's a curse. She's looks like a college co-ed. Yes.
In freshman or sophomore year. Right, exactly.
She's 19.
Okay. Anyway, all right, we can cut all that out, Val, if you want. We'll have the census take care of that. Look, so we have an interesting show for you tonight. We're going to have a Clubb Report. We're going to have Jocko's going to finish up his segment on weird weather that has helped the U.S. military win very important battles during wartime. We're also going to be hearing from Switch a report from the Fringe about Captain Ruppelt, who was the guy the Air Force officer who went on, kind of notorious, went on to head the Air Force's Project Blue Book during the 50s and 60s, or the 50s, and mixed results, but an interesting guy. What was his name? What's his first name, Switchy?
Edward J. Ruppelt.
Ruppelt, yeah.
And he died pretty young, but after he left Blue Book, and obviously before he died, only a few years, he wrote the Report on Unidentified Flying Objects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And didn't he change the ending or something? There's a lot of
later
controversy.
I don't know that much about that part of his life just yet, but they did add 3 chapters after the first edition, and they were more in the way of trying to maybe debunk a little bit, or my impression was that the Air Force didn't like the pro attitude of UFO reports.
The original, they made them change the original ending. I mean, that's basically what happened. They probably threatened them in some way. So anyway, listen. But let me just kind of explain that we were supposed to have a guest on from Ireland tonight. Okay, as you know, we have listeners all around the world: Liechtenstein, Egypt, Germany, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, of course, Canada, and Amsterdam, Holland. And Ireland, and so we invited her on, and maybe something has goofed up with McZoom over there, but no matter what, the show's going to have kind of an Irish bent tonight, so,
Who's drinking back
maybe, so we're all drinking, we're all drunk, and we're all being Irish. So anyway, but we do have a top 10 list, but before we get to that, Valerie, what's new with you? Now, Valerie, you are an empath, but you're also an author, right?
Yes, I do have a contributing chapter coming out in a new book put out by Paul and Ben Eno of Beyond the Paranormal, and it's focusing on UFO stuff this time for anybody that's familiar with them. So I've contributed a chapter talking about an experience that I had with a UFO encounter when I was 4. So I got that coming out sometime this year, which I'm very excited about. Other than that, I'm working on my own writing. I'm doing some investigating, always looking for more investigations. So just kind of hanging out.
Okay. All right. So we do have a top 10 list tonight. Oh, we should just say, no Coco tonight, but also no Raven. Raven is nursing someone back to health. And I'm sure she'll rejoin us next week. For some reason, X has his microphone off. But, Valerie, let's pretend that the person from Ireland is here. Do we have the top 10 list there?
I have it right here.
Okay, so this is, I believe, top 10 reasons it's cool to be Irish. Now, please, I just got to say that this probably would be much funnier if the person from Ireland was actually here. But, we're going to fill 20 minutes, so let's go. Okay, so top 10 reasons why it's cool to be Irish. Please, let's start the music here. And Valerie, number 10.
10 is all that great Irish cuisine.
Yeah, all that food over there. They just boil everything, right? Yeah, okay.
I know it well.
Yeah, yep. Okay, this will go quick. All right, number 9, please, Valerie.
Number 9, we can pick a few shamrocks, dry them, smoke them, and then see the little people.
Right? That's how they do it over there.
I already know.
What do you think they're doing with those things?
Who built this list?
Number 8, please. Why it's cool to be Irish.
Number 8, you can have beer for breakfast.
You can have beer for breakfast. No one cares, right? School kids have beer over there, right? For breakfast.
We do that here, too.
Okay. Please, number 7, please.
You can have beer for lunch.
You can have beer for lunch.
Number 7.
The whole country does it. Okay.
Is that real? True?
Sure.
Truthfully?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. Number 6.
So far, the whole beer thing is no different than the Germans.
Okay.
Believe me.
All right. What are you dragging them in for? Okay, please, Valerie. Number 6.
Number 6, only we get to French kiss the Blarney Stone.
You see, everyone else has to keep that point.
Okay.
Is there anyone here tonight who has not done that?
Yes.
I have not.
I have not.
I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to tell you
I was there,
why.
but did not partake.
We know, we have friends that live in that area near the castle. And every night, the teenagers hang out at the castle, and they drink, and they go up and they urinate on the Blarney Stone. And they come the next day and watch all the tourists kiss it.
Who was the one guy that kissed it?
That is Irish.
That sounds like a story.
It does. It sounds very real to me.
Up there is
I'm
like
talking. That was a local who told me that.
Really? It's
that's an
heavily
inside
guided.
scoop.
No way you can get up there.
Okay.
Especially
what? Yes, you can. I did it.
All right. You see if our Irish friend was here.
No, I didn't.
57, Clubber.
Okay. All right. Sounds very real. I could see that happening, frankly, to me. Please, Valerie, number 5, top 10 reasons why it's cool to be Irish.
Okay, number 5. Where else can you say, want to see my shillelagh and not get arrested?
Right? Come on. Wow. Is this on? Okay, all right, please.
I wish I could do accents. I'm terrible at accents. I would have put on an Irish accent.
If you could do a dance, we'd like it now, believe me, the way this is going. But all right, please. Top 10 reasons why it's cool to be Irish.
Then you'll love number 4, all that great Irish porn.
Irish corn?
Porn.
Oh,
you didn't miss that. Don't worry.
Oh, boy. All right, please. Number 3, please, Valerie.
Number 3, we all hate Bono equally.
Right, everyone hates them. That's how they do.
Yes.
I don't hate him, but he is annoying.
No.
He's annoying.
He's a
pompous A, but,
Yeah.
He's a punk. Yeah, right.
Number 2, please, Valerie. Top 10 reasons to be it's cool to be Irish.
Number 2, you can have beer for dinner.
Beer for dinner, And listen, what's a...
Oh, we almost at the end?
Yes, what's a 7-course...
You have Guinness stew. I mean, come on.
What's a 7-course dinner in Ireland?
What is it?
Six-pack and a potato.
A 6-pack and a potato. Come on. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're at number 1. Top 10 reasons why it's cool to be Irish. The number 1 reason why it's cool to be Irish, please, Valerie.
We're not just an island full of moody redheads anymore.
Wow, we're going to have to really bump that up, baby. There's a law over in England, and I think it's in Ireland too, where you cannot discriminate against people with red hair. Okay, they call them gingers over there. Clubb, can you back me up on this? I mean, isn't there a lot of redheaded people over there running around?
Yeah, but I've never heard that law. But that's interesting.
Yeah, you cannot be because...
No, that is a law. I don't know if it's a law, but it is certainly enforced.
But does that include redheaded stepchildren?
The royal family had a few gingers.
Gingers is what they call them, right.
But in Ireland, there's no such thing.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
And actually, the Irish have far fewer redheads than do the Scandinavians and the Scots.
Oh, really?
So stereotypes seem to dominate.
Wow.
Yeah, when you see pictures of people in Ireland, they're not all redheaded.
Hell no.
Half of them are. Okay, maybe.
They must have a lot of dye over there.
Anyway.
But
hey,
I'm
there's
so
a cat.
disappointed, Valerie.
I just got a cat sighting.
There's a cat.
Really left off the real, genuine number 1 reason.
Go ahead.
Why it's great to be Irish.
Go ahead.
Because you're better looking than everyone.
Oh, that's true.
else.
Yeah, you got that right.
Absolutely true. Said all the Irish people.
It's a blinding flash of the obvious.
Now, before we go to a break, we also got we're getting fan mail all the time. And Valerie, anytime you want to jump in and tell us how the vibe of the show is going up and down, please. Okay. You can signal me with the that sign and middle fingers and everything. So, but we get a lot of fan mail. And we don't have time to read it all in the air, but we got an interesting one today, and I shot it over to Clubb, had him review it, and I think, do you think it's we should read it on the air there, Clubby?
Well, I think to have full disclosure, I think we should. We've got a lot of nice fan mail. We get pats on the back and people that like things.
Yes.
So this piece of writing...
kind of yin and yang.
I think I wouldn't classify it as fan mail, but it is from a listener, and I think we have to disclose this kind of stuff. That not everything we do is popular.
Right? Yeah, full transparency.
Yeah. No, so I agree. I think we ought to.
Okay, so this is on the level, guys. This isn't written or anything. I got this email about noontime today. Go ahead, please, Clubb.
Okay, it starts off. By the way, it's from a regular listener, Lenny. So if you know regular listener Lenny, this is what he has to say. Hey, Mac, man, would you stop with the endless nonsense you present in your show? All the stupid stuff you do and say have nothing to do with military. X-Files, ! It's false advertising, ! I end up feeling I have wasted my much valuable time listening to your shows, ! Nothing is funny on it, ! Nothing, ! And believe me, I am not the only person who thinks this. One more thing, the UFO conspiracy did not start in 1947. It started in February 1942 with the Battle of LA. You heard it here first, and I'll be waiting to hear some as acknowledge as I suffer through another one of your broadcasts, ! You ain't Howard Stern, !
Thank God.
He already did what you try at being funny, so stop. And then best regards, one of our
love mom.
Your raving fan, Lenny.
Best regards.
Wow.
May I comment on that?
Good one. I like
please. Go ahead. JJ likes
first of all, Switchy, I think you could back me up on this. It was like June 24th, some year, way before when that fella spotted those original flying saucers up there in Washington State or wherever it was, right?
Yeah, Arnold, yeah.
1948.
And so he's wrong on the Battle of L.A., number one. And Lenny sounds like he could be a paisan of mine. I'm a little ashamed.
Well, I made up their name, but I thought the funny thing about the letter was...
I just brought up a military question about the Ukraine, and then I got a report here the last 3 shows about military and war. What is he talking about?
Who knows? So, Luca, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back and with a Clubb Report. Also, Jocko's going to talk to us about wild weather, how it's helped the U.S. military win some important battles. And then Switch is going to do a report from the French on Captain Edward Ruppelt, who was headed the Air Force's quote-unquote investigative section called Blue Book, Project Blue Book, but it was with mixed results. Also, our good friend Valerie Lofaso is here. Valerie, what's the vibe of the show? Can you tell us?
I'm feeling some tension right now. I'm not sure who it's coming from, but I feel some tension.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming from Switchy.
Watch out for that tension.
All right, here we go. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break and all calm down? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Please stay tuned. Imagine you knew what was going to happen 2 seconds before it happened. Imagine you lived with the world's most beautiful supermodel. Imagine you drove a Jaguar with machine guns behind the headlights. Well, it's time to stop dreaming and start reading about Navy Lieutenant Chris Starr, hero of Mack Maloney's new best-selling paranormal detective series, codenamed Starman. Who murdered the most beautiful tea girl in San Diego? Who's bombarding a small Massachusetts town with heavy artillery on Christmas Eve? Who's causing the mass murder of terrorists in the jungles of Africa? These are the cases Lieutenant Chris Starr must solve in The Kalashnikov Kiss, the first book in Mack's exciting new series, codenamed Starman. Follow the Starman as he uses his psychic abilities to crack cases the U.S. Navy has declared too unusual. Find out why the Pentagon calls him the X-Files guy. And what is the wormhole anyway? To find out, get your own tomato can and be ready for action, strange adventures, paranormal activity, and lots of cover models. In Codename Starman, The Kalashnikov Kiss by Mack Maloney. On sale now at Amazon and your local bookstore.
Hello, girls. It's going to be an awesome show tonight. Okay. It's just getting off the ground, man.
Just getting off the ground? Is that what we're saying?
It's like a rocket. One stage is ejected.
Failing?
Is that the right term? And
okay, let's move on.
It's nothing but the moon from here.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yep.
Not with us tonight, and as it turns out, it might have been a smart idea. No Coco tonight. Mills Gills and Gigi Gills. He's on a secret mission saving the country. But... happy that Coco isn't here, frankly, is our national correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
It's great to be here.
Okay. I mean, let's face it, it excites you when you move a little bit up on the totem pole, right? You've told us that.
Well, my per diem goes up about 20%, and I appreciate that.
You what? We don't speak Latin. What are you trying to tell us? Anyway.
It's more cash in my pocket.
Okay. Yeah, we don't understand that either, but we'll be back to you in a second, okay? Also with us is no Raven tonight either. No Raven, no bun, no fun. Okay, I get stuff.
That's shocking. What happened to Raven?
She's nursing someone back to health tonight. She's dressed as a nurse and everything. Yeah.
Mac, I'm not feeling too good. Can I get her information?
Hang on. Let me just introduce everyone. Also with us is our security chief, Willie Clubb. Willie, how you doing?
Mac, I'm doing good. It's good to hear, that... some people are going upward and I'm going sideways.
No, don't look at it like this.
I won't take offense to that, but
you're not wearing
I guess I'll just have to get a little covering for my head. That'll make me more popular.
Don't worry, Clubb, I'll let you know what it's like at the top.
Wow, we should get Hair Systems for Men as a sponsor. Hey, listen, are you wearing a tie tonight? Your outfit is clashing with your blue Yeti mic, but it looks like you're all dressed up.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I always dress for this show.
You do,
but I'm not wearing a tie. Okay. No,
he looks like he's wearing a priest collar.
Oh yeah,
it looks like a collar.
Exactly.
I was going to say the same thing, Jocko.
Yeah, I'm going to give this show last rites if we continue.
Okay, all right, hang on.
I've had them a few times.
I mean,
we're only halfway through.
It does look like, yeah.
Who else here has had?
Look at that. He's got a priest outfit on.
3 times.
That's what it is. I have different roles at night.
That's what it looks like. Well done, AJ.
I don't want to
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Wait, I said it first.
Did you say that?
Hide the kids.
Man.
Oh, that's really that was sad. All right,
Those are some embarrassing moments,
Yes.
Confession.
Yeah.
The whole experience.
It was only embarrassing if you're a sinner.
A pervert.
Oh, yeah, it was always a sinner.
If we were a prevert like you, JJ.
30 seconds.
Hey, listen.
Jeez.
I mean, think about it for a second. We're not going to get into a religious thing tonight, but, if you're sitting in a dark booth and people are coming in to, tell you their sins, I could see that, arousing people of a certain kind of, sexual bent. But anyway, so listen.
I like the community absolution much better.
So, Clubb, you look like a priest. Father Clubb. Father Clubb.
Again, I'll give you a blessing later.
Okay, there you go. Also with us.
We're not laughing at priests. We're just laughing at Clubb because he does. The more we talk about, the more he looks like.
He looks like a freaking priest. It's scaring me. Also with us is Agent X, the man who works for the agency that works for the agencies. X, how you doing?
Never better, and thanks for having me.
Never better.
Had so much fun in a long time.
Never better. Really, never better. I knew you when you had hair and you were 50 pounds lighter. Wasn't that kind of better than it is now?
Well, I still have more hair than you, and I'm still 50 pounds lighter than you.
See how he strikes out?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of aggression in there, a lot of hidden aggression.
That's
I'm going to edit that out.
Of course.
No, his hair is neither here nor there.
Clubb, you may have to do an exorcism rather than last rites.
Okay, here we go. Listen, our Southern correspondent, Jocko Johnson, is with us. Jocko, how are you doing?
Very good.
Jojo.
I received comms from Cobra.
Yes.
Commander wants me to take over on the wing.
Oh, really?
So, so Mac, I'm on the wing.
And the chicken wing there, brother. Okay, yeah, okay.
Hey, Mac, we got a new character on the show, Father Bulger.
Okay, listen.
For someone wearing a Beatles hat, John Lennon glasses.
Hang on.
Can't talk.
This is probably
looking at John Lennon here.
Piece of chance, all right?
All right. This is probably the worst time she could have ever wanted to join us. But our special guest tonight is Valerie Lofaso, who is our favorite empath and author and ghost hunter and you name it. Valerie, how you doing there?
I'm good, but you can't convince me the show isn't like this all the time, whether I'm here or not. So.
Well, no, I guess not. But we can try, right? So, what's the vibe of the show? I mean, you said we were tense going into the commercial.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm a little distracted. I'm distracted right now because your station friend is visiting you,
Yes.
And so I keep getting that energy behind you. Just so you know,
this is the ghost. Bob the Ghost. Bob the Ghost.
The show vibe's good. The show vibe's
good, but the ghost is around. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
He's curious.
We've had worse.
Very curious.
We've had worse. So anyway, did I say no Cobra tonight and also no Raven? She's nursing someone back to health. Apparently wearing a nurse's uniform, as it turns out. She had one on hand from the 50s, and she's going to send us pictures for the website.
Is she play acting or is she really doing that?
I don't know. No. I mean, who knows? No, someone is actually, needs some medical care in her immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
And she's nursing.
I get it.
Yeah. We'll hear details next week. So listen, talk about details though first. We have to go to Switchy and we have to ask him What do you have for breakfast? Okay, so switch. Now, listen, we haven't done this in a while, and I should also mention that, despite all these things about Switch's alleged hairpiece, I don't believe he has a hairpiece. I just think that one show more than a year ago, he just happened to part his hair on the other side. Isn't that what started this whole thing? He was like Jimmy Carter. He changed his part, right? But anyway. Switch,
brain surgery.
I think that the beard is looking, once again, you're looking very kind of Hemingway-esque, as if Richard Dreyfuss played him on Off-Broadway or something. You're going for that look, right?
The Dreyfuss look, yep.
The Dreyfuss look.
Well, Hemingway or Dreyfuss?
Well, Richard Dreyfuss playing Hemingway.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, all right. Whatever you're going for.
I remember when he was playing a shark expert.
Yeah, that's a terrible movie. I heard a repeat. We talked about this 2 years ago. Even that's a bad movie. Close Encounters could have been such a great movie, and we've talked about this before. They should reboot that movie, because I'm telling you, there's so much of a cool story hiding in there. But everyone was coked up for the original one, and they've come out and written books about how people were spending like $1 million on coke and stuff when they're shooting that movie, and you can see it. Everyone's like buzzed out anyway. So, Switchy, let's get back to you, okay? So what you have for breakfast?
This morning, I went to Denny's.
Denny's.
Yay, Denny's.
Vanessa waited on me.
Vanessa.
And, I'm automatically put my military discount on.
Okay.
I had fried beefsteak, 2 eggs over easy, hash browns, white toast, black coffee, and water.
Water. He had water. That's good. It's healthy. Wow. Okay. That's he went for the big boy meal. Okay. So
wow.
All right. Let's think here for a second. I'm going to say that the bill was $12.50.
Pretty close. About $13.
$13. Okay. I'm going to say you left $7, didn't you?
That's right.
Yes,
so the whole bill was about $20.
Oh,
excellent. Drop to 20 and
I'm gonna contact that place and check on these tips. These tips that you report giving are pretty extravagant. And
are you suggesting I'm using artistic license, Clubb?
No.
Well, I don't know what you use them, but
are you suggesting I'm making up stuff?
Clubb is XIRS.
I'll just say you fabricate sometime, I think.
Wow! Holy cow!
Well, just the fringe reports. That's all.
Okay, there you go. So that's great. That's a switch. What you have for lunch, just for the hell of it?
That was
wait. After that breakfast, you actually had lunch?
Let's see. Let's see.
It was not a super early breakfast for one thing, and number two, it was very filling because my plan was to only eat about half of it and then take it home.
Yes.
But I ended up eating about 90% of it.
Okay. So. All right. So what was dinner?
I did not have lunch.
A can of SpaghettiOs for lunch?
What, SpaghettiOs?
Okay. Why don't we move on?
Hey, you know what, Switchy? You and I have to have a breakfast eating contest.
Ooh, here we go. Okay.
No,
yeah, buddy.
Not for quantity? No way.
For whatever.
You win.
He would win for quantity.
I've heard stories that you're basically a bottomless pit, which is not a bad thing. But I couldn't.
I've had waitresses that say, "Are you going to eat all this?" I was surrounded like 4 plates. I've taken pictures of it.
You've already won.
I've heard that a number of times myself. You can eat all that, really? I mean,
like in the Navy, what they said: take all you want, but eat all you take. Right?
You took them seriously.
I subscribe to that philosophy ever since I've been in the Navy.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to go to a club report, but first, because she's here, I'm going to check in with her. Valerie, vibe of the show, please.
Oh, you guys are so all over the place. It's hard to pin down one vibe because you go from high to low so fast.
Okay.
But it's good.
You
guys have a good relationship, so it's fun to feel it.
Hey,
excellent. Yeah,
feel it.
She's right.
What's that cat?
We have fun. That vibe gets shared amongst the entire team.
That's right. Yes,
and it's a complimentary vibe. Everybody has a little piece of the vibe.
Yeah, right. But when the ship sinks,
it works together like.
When the ship sinks, it's only the captain
Valerie,
that goes down with it.
we did have that until the Beatles poster came up.
Listen, here we go.
And then it all.
I will take it down then.
Let's move on.
I missed. In the hot sun. It all.
Come on, that's not just a poster. That's a cover shot of the Revolver album cover. Look at that.
Come on, X.
How cool is that?
X doesn't know how many people were in the Beatles. You're barking up the wrong tree there. So look,
how many people in the Beatles, and who else is in that cover? There's other band members of another band in that cover, and that's what's cool about it.
The Dead Beatle.
Okay, all right, come on.
Hey, Mac, I think you really converted Switchy. You know, we don't. I think you worked a miracle with this guy. It's been done. He goes out for a $13 breakfast.
Yes,
and he tips like 55%.
Yes, that's what I do.
New York, the standard is like 22%.
Yeah, more or less, but he's not. He's a long way away from New York.
He's like a superstar.
Well, he was leaving a buck.
Well, that remains to be seen.
He was leaving a buck and a half.
It's like
2 years.
Switchy, that's exactly what I do. 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
Jocko, you don't know what happened between Switchy and Vanessa later.
Well, I used to leave 100% because you'd go in, they wouldn't want to take your money.
All right,
I was going to ask,
maybe take your money.
Can we move
whatever
on?
the meal cost is what we gave him, and it was his.
Can we move on?
You got to send us a picture of Vanessa, okay?
Okay, there we go. All right.
Well, I'll get permission from her husband.
All right.
And the manager. What's
What's
this creepy guy doing taking photographs of the waitresses?
Hang on. Let's see. Why don't we move on? Okay.
I've got pictures of the girls at Farmer's Kitchen.
Yeah, you don't ask permission.
We all do, as it turns out.
Yeah, but that's your secret spy scope.
That is my secret.
You're doing the under table pictures, though. That's different.
They love him. They love him.
Hey, listen. We also have a photograph.
It's not my fault. I can follow them all on Instagram, and I said, "Sure, follow us on Instagram."
Right. Well, let's say human today, testimony later. But he also has a picture of one of them arresting him in cuffs. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the best part was he tried to tell me she was a real cop. I was like, get lost.
All right, let's move on.
She had the cuff on me and everything. She had that look like, whoa, what's going to happen next?
Well, if you're a usual suspect, you get a beating.
Oh, man.
Someone like Jocko.
Oh, nothing about that.
Listen, why don't we go to Clubb, because Clubb has a Clubb Report.
Reporting the latest in the U.S. military's new investigation into UFOs and what they still aren't telling you. It's time for the Clubb Report.
And here we go with this week's Clubb Report. Willie Clubb, how are you doing there, Willie?
I'm doing great, Mac, and looking forward to giving a report this week.
Let's go.
I did want to start off by saying that, the key parts of the report that I'm trying to build up are information about our new agency, that's devoted to tracking the unidentified, which they now call, UAPs and no longer the acronym UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
That, they're now unidentified aerial phenomenon. But anyways, information so far in this new agency has really been very limited. It's only been up and running, since around November when the Congress put it in. But the disappointing thing is that we haven't heard anything since the announcement. Mm-hmm. And, there's certainly, it's very controversial, and there's a lot of cynics in the UFO community thinking that this is just another government, thing where they're really just trying to keep the UFO people happy, but they're really not going to produce any results.
Yes.
So if we don't start hearing some stuff about some activities or research soon, I think that they're going to lose their credibility. So I just wanted to let you know that's why I don't have anything new to report on our friends there at DOD, but
we should just
as soon
say
as I get some updates.
We should just say that a few months ago, as part of a major bill that was passed by the U.S. government, there was a rider in there saying that we have to kind of take a serious look at what we used to know as UFOs are. Okay, and they kind of corralled it a little bit with that they might pose a safety issue to airplanes and stuff, which I had never heard before, but. They are tasked with coming out with reports on kind of timely basis. And I think when we did the first Clubb Report, we said, well, we'll see how they use the media for this, because it could be just throwing the dog a bone, in a way. But I don't think they'll get away with throwing bones to the dog because there's so many people interested in this. They want to see results, especially now that taxpayers' money, they threw $60 million or something at it. That's not hay.
Right.
Well, that's my job to, find out what's going on.
Okay.
And right now, like I say, it's very hard to get any information about the agency and their activities.
So anyway, so you
stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. Okay.
So, anyways, Mac, I did put together a report. You would ask me to put together a report on a particular individual and some interesting information about him. And so, what I've found is, first of all, the gentleman, his name is Emanuel Valenkowski, and he is now deceased, but his writings go back to 1950. And anyways, the topic that I'll be covering, it really goes back to the origins of the universe, you might say. Recently, with the launch of the new James Webb Telescope, that is the replacement for the Hubble. In fact, the James Webb is now 1 million miles out, and that's one of the things they're doing is looking to try to find more information on the origins of the universe. But so as a result of that, there's a lot more interest now in that area. So I thought I'd cover this individual, Valenkowski. He had some interesting views on the origins and things that happened back in the early times. Just to give you a little background on Valenkowski, he was a Russian. Then he moved to Israel, and eventually he became an American. And he was an author, and he did a lot of research. And anyways, a book that he wrote back in 1950, which happened to be a U.S. bestseller at the time, was called Worlds in Collision. And it was highly controversial and has a lot of critics. And the bottom line is that his theory is that, and his argument was that the world suffered a catastrophic close contact with other planets, namely Venus and Mars, in that Venus was originally a comet that was ejected by Jupiter, and it was transferred from a comet into an orbiting planet. And what happened was that changed. When that happened and it started rotating toward the Earth, that changed the Earth's axis and magnetic field with catastrophic results. Now, it isn't believed that it actually had a collision with the Earth, but it came close enough that it made those major impacts as far as the magnetic field and the Earth's axis that probably had some real devastating thing to the life on Earth at that time. We're talking 15,000 BC, 15th century BC. So that theory that he came up with really caused a lot of critics because nobody could imagine anything like that ever happen.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, like I say, that book he wrote about it became a U.S. bestseller back in 1950. And in fact, Valenkowski's book was found in Albert Einstein's desk after it was open. The book was open and it was on his desk at the time of his death when they went into Albert Einstein's office.
After Einstein died?
Of things. But on there, that his book about the, this world in collision was open on his desk.
Wow, maybe that's what killed him. He
had a heart attack.
Hang on a second.
In fact, that was 70 years ago when he wrote that.
Yep.
More recently, this topic has been picked up again. As I told you, I think a lot of it now because of the James Webb Telescope and all. Everybody's thinking now about the beginning of time and the Big Bang. But a gentleman named Laird Scranton, he was from Albany, New York. He's still alive.
Yes.
And he's a software developer, but he's a researcher of many of the world's cosmologies. Okay.
Yep.
And so he wrote a book sort of defending Valenkowski, and it was called The Valenkowski Heresies, where he re-examines the evidence and he presents new information based on a recent space probe mission.
Yes.
Where he claims that Venus still existed as a comet with today, has comet-like properties to it.
Really? It's a tough...
So he's done some research that shows that there might be something to the fact that Venus was at one time a comet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he goes in there and he cites, different things, but he's someone that's starting to bring this topic back up. And in fact, the book that he wrote about the heresies, that was also a reading material at Colgate University.
Really?
Used in subjects there that
where they make the
was
toothpaste.
taught at Colgate.
Yeah.
And it's a study of the founding symbols of the civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And so he really thinks he's found some evidence there that there was this major catastrophe
some event
affecting the Earth, back in the period of 15 BC.
Yeah.
And in fact, going back to readings of the tribes and everything else in those days, it appears that at that time there was no planet at that time, that it didn't exist. From all of the folks that were around that time that were studying the universe and the stars, that Venus was not up there at that time.
It goes a different way.
So anyways,
it revolves around the Earth
theory.
in a different direction than the rest of the planets, which is kind of odd. And it revolves in a different, direction or something.
Was it retrograde?
Yeah. Kind of weird.
It spins on its axis in exactly the opposite direction of the rest of the planets.
Yeah.
But there's another, very briefly, Clubb, there's another book I read some years ago called Velikovsky Reconsidered by several different authors. And they look at some of his stuff and they think he was probably incorrect, but there are other things that they kind of weighed and thought maybe he was onto something. But the interesting thing about that book is they quote Donald Menzel. And we know that guy as the major debunker and cynic about UFOs.
Right.
He wrote a couple books, way before Class did. And it's interesting because they pointed out in the book, people like Menzel and other ones, they viciously attacked Velikovsky, but they would accuse him of saying things, writing things that he didn't actually support. You get this really negative vibe, but they weren't even actually dealing with what he wrote, and then disagreeing with it on a scientific basis.
Yeah, the fake lie. Yeah, I mean, shit like that happens all the time, though.
He authored a lot of different books, and on different views. So, it's not surprising, but he was a pretty controversial person of the time because of his theory.
Yeah. Well, he was like a heretic to the establishment.
But usually
that's why they, Scranton's book was called the Velikovsky Heresies.
Hey, they thought what's his name was a heretic too. Galileo. I mean, they literally made him kill himself because he was a heretic. Just let me just break in here for a second. Val, we just had a cat sighting a little bit while ago. How many cats do you have? I'm taking school.
I have the one.
Just the one? Okay. All right. Okay. We have to bring
she's got enough energy for about 3 cats, though.
Oh, really? Yeah. Triple cat. All right. We have to bring a cat reference in every show. So
cats are so cool.
Okay, really here we go. All right. I went down that road.
They are definitely cool.
All right, 1-1. First it was the Beatles. Now
I lived with 6 cats when my daughter was here.
Yes.
Golly.
6 cats.
Yes.
Oh, man. Do they play with each other
worship
at night?
them.
Well...
They're a religious icon of cats.
Do cats calm people down, Valerie? Do they have a calming effect on?
They can be very healing. There's a lot of people believe that cats can do Reiki, which is energy healing, and that their purr can calm anxiety and heal physical ailments.
Okay.
We had a cat once. My wife had a migraine, had a headache, and a cat came up, jumped up on the bed, and actually pressed his paw against her temple, just kind of as if he was massaging it. You could certainly feel there's something there, but without any, without any other thing than being a cat that was sensitive to that kind of thing. It was just very cool.
Did the migraine go away?
Eventually.
Eventually,
it wasn't healing paws exactly. It was just trying to
I was going to sign that cat up.
You get distracted by the cat where you don't feel the migraine. I think they have a resonant frequency in their purring that affects your ability to feel pain.
Well, that could be.
I swear that
I should get a cat then
when they're around you.
A club. So that's an interesting report.
What I'm going to do, Mac, is I want to continue to follow this to see if anything else comes to it. But
yeah.
Like I say, it's an interesting theory, and now that we're back into, hopefully getting some more real detail on the origins of the universe with the new Webb telescope, that may also come up with something to help in is to see whether or not this really is true. Because like I say. That's why Scranton got involved again, because of that space probe. Apparently some information that he got from that led him to believe that he ought to write this book and sort of defend the Velikovsky. So let's see what happens with that probe out there now, 1 million miles out.
Bada-boom.
They say we're going to really get to see.
The James Webb Telescope, which they just finally launched, and it was behind schedule for like 10 years. A very expensive telescope. It's way out there, 1 million miles from Earth.
It's already. It took a month or something
just to get
1 million miles.
Yeah. And it's going to be able to take pictures. Now get this: it's going to be able to take pictures way back into the early stages of the universe. Because when you look up at the sky, you're basically looking back in time, and it can just take pictures deep into the universe, and maybe at some point actually take a picture of what was there before the beginning of the universe, the Big Bang. They don't really want to come out and say that, but there's a good chance that might happen at some point, and we'll really know, what's going on. But that's going to happen, and it's a very complicated. The more I read about it, the more I think this thing isn't going to work. But it's unbelievable technology if it does work. And
everything so far is working. So far,
so good.
They got it up there. Then they had to open it up.
Open up the sun.
There were certain things that had to happen, and everything has happened so far clockwork. And imagine 1 million miles away.
Yeah, crazy.
It even has a protector that it opened up to protect it from the sun.
Yeah.
And if they couldn't open that up, it would have been a failure because the sun would have destroyed it. But it opened up, and so this thing is going to start functioning now. And
listen, let me just say this.
Back, so we'll see.
Before we go to commercial, I'm not a big champion for, what's going on in this country, these days, these past 4 or 5 years. But there's one thing you can be sure of. No other country could do that. No other country could come up with the James Webb telescope,
You're right.
That's just the way we are, and it's good, that it works, and, that they continue stuff like that. I think is really important. So why don't we do this now, though? Speaking about important, why don't we go to a commercial break? And you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Where is the Sea of Moons? Is it on the moon? Or in a haunted part of the Pacific Ocean? Or is it just in our heads?
What if you dreamed of meeting a beautiful Irish girl, but she turned out to be a cop? What if you dreamed that you were on TV 24/7, but only the government knew the channel? And what if you dreamed you were shipwrecked on a deserted island and rescued by 5 lovely castaways, only to have some real pirates ruin the party? Then you should wake up and read The Sea of Moons, the latest installment in Mack Maloney's best-selling series, codename Starman. Follow the adventures of U.S. Navy's Special Agent Chris Starr as he travels the globe using his special ESP powers to solve top-secret mysteries. First in Ireland, then in Tahiti, and finally to Hollywood, where Chris and his girlfriend Angel discover the only spooks inside an old haunted house belong to the CIA. That's codename Starman, The Sea of Moons by Mack Maloney. On sale on Amazon and in bookstores everywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Hey, wow, what a show we have for you tonight. But very quickly, 1-1 is here, Switchy is here, Clubb is here, Jocko is here, Agent X is here, and also our good friend, our favorite empath, Valerie Lofaso is here. Valerie, before everyone else, how are you doing tonight? What's the vibe of the show?
I'm doing great, and the vibe right now is really good. I think
Interesting. Okay.
The report we just got, I think lifted the mood a little bit.
Raised our spirits. Well, listen, this was supposed to be an all-Irish show, or more or less, tonight, but I had to, one Irish person didn't show up, so I had to drag one in off the street. So our Irish friend is finally here. How are you there?
Which has us?
Okay, wow. Okay, all right. Why weren't you... I got no idea.
What did he say?
I don't know. Say it again.
Who's potatoes?
Who's potatoes, right?
Yeah.
Can you say his name is Pete O'Pistol? Falcone.
Oh, by golly.
Pistol.
How are you, laddie?
Oh, Pete.
I thought you told me you did an Irish accent.
Not close.
No, it's okay. Way better than me. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, if this person had shown up, it would be funnier. But
Sorry. I'll practice and I'll come back.
Okay, you know how to practice, right?
Yeah.
Just have a couple drinks and
Exactly.
you'll be fine.
Green one.
Yeah,
Thank
you got to
you.
come back like Father Pistol O'Pete.
That was Pistol O'Pete, right? Okay, a millionaire voice impressionist. Okay, that we might have to cut out too.
The top of the morning to you.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we go right to? I think I insulted him when I said he didn't do an Irish accent. Hey, JJ, you do a pretty good Irish accent, don't you?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Are you drunk enough?
I mean, I say, where's me pot of gold?
Where's me pot of gold? I can tell you, I grew up. I mean, my immediate family was like right off the boat, man. I couldn't understand half of what my grandmother was saying when I was a kid. It was just such.
And she spoke English, right?
Yeah, but it was just so thick and brogue,
Did, but she didn't.
I just shook my head a lot. So, anyway, look, why don't we go to Jocko
Agent
Johnson?
X, you speak Gaelic too, right?
That's Cleon. Cleon. Speak a little Gaelic there, and we'll judge if it's Cleon or not. Go ahead, X.
It's amazing.
Say something in Gaelic. We dare you.
Enki a Wilshiv.
Come on, isn't that Cleon? I mean, I'm a Star Trek if you want.
Chinese, man.
Enki a Wilshiv. That means how you all doing? Jeepers, for crying out loud.
Episode 56.
Take a course.
Educated around here?
Agent X, we got to take a course. Come on.
I can speak a little Latin.
One more line. Go ahead. One more line in Gaelic. Go ahead. Speak right into the microphone there. Woof. Say it.
Jig Vicha Tonona.
Come on. Tell me that's episode 56.
You guys are driving me crazy, as we said.
Okay.
X, are you fluent in that?
Hell no.
He's been taking it since the second grade. You'd think he'd know how to speak it by now. But look.
I had
I think it's pretty cool.
Who spoke Irish. That's all they spoke was Irish.
Gaelic, yeah.
And, Irish, yeah, they call it Gaelic.
Irish, yep.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's to me, I used to get people pissed off because I tell them it sounded like pig Latin.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sure does, yeah. I think
actually, in this
I think
case,
it's very Cleonish. Go ahead.
Clubber, Mac is more correct. It even sounds like Klingon to me.
Wow, what an admission. Okay, hold on. Thank you, X. Why don't we switch gears over to Jocko Johnson because he's going to finish his multi-show report on how wild weather has actually helped the U.S. in its military history to win some important battles. We spoke before about there was a time during the Revolutionary War where George Washington evacuated an entire army from New York to New Jersey, that if he hadn't done it, we would have lost the war. We'd all be eating little crumpets right now. But he did it when this mysterious fog just came over the bay there, and they got out. Just a crazy story. And then going to the War of 1812, the British actually invaded Washington, D.C., and they were going to burn down the White House. They, kind of pillaged the place, and they were going to burn the whole thing down. And first there was a hurricane which stopped them, and then there was a tornado. There's never been a tornado ever in Washington, D.C., but it happened, and it stopped the British from burning down the White House. I mean, how crazy is that? So now we're going to talk about what happened in Gettysburg, right there, JoJo?
Yes, sir. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but that tornado you were talking about actually picked up like 6-pound cannons, like a 6-pounder they used to call them, or whatever, naval guns that they had put on shore.
Yes.
And it actually threw them in the air and landed them on the soldiers, and they were like, "We're out of here."
Wow, that would convince me to retreat. So,
what we'll talk about today to end this up is about the Civil War at Gettysburg, and there was a condition in weather that's known as an acoustic shadow. I think I could give you the science and some kind of background on that first before we go into the actual battle story. Acoustic shadow is kind of like a mirage. It involves sound instead of light. Differences in temperature at varying atmospheric layers causes sound waves to refract or bend. Also, wind shears and the absorption of sound on soft surfaces can contribute to the effect. The result can be that sounds coming from a particular source might not be heard by someone standing fairly close by, while other people located far, far away can be in a direction where sounds are being refracted, can hear those sounds. They go back into the Civil War history, and there were actually 5 or 6 different battles, Chancellorsville being one, and others where this same sort of condition really, changed the outcome of these battles. I think if you look at it, I think we've all have been, understand where if, like, I live a few miles from a train track where is a CSX and Amtrak, and they will come by at certain times and you will never hear it. Other times then you'll hear it so much that you can swear it's right by your home, and you can set your clock by the train. We have a Tropicana orange train, and it's actually an orange train, and it's about 100 cars or more. It has a number of locomotives pulling it, and it goes from Florida all the way up the coast. And it comes by at about 4 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. And at times you can hear it like it's running through your backyard, and at other times you don't hear it at all.
I've seen that thing, that orange train.
Yeah, and that's what this is about. This is the kind of thing.
Okay, but why would it happen, Jocko? What's the conditions that it happens with the train?
The same conditions that any sound waves. It's like I just explained. It's this. The air conditions, the temperature, it has to be surface solidness or softness of surface.
Yeah.
It's just an anomaly in weather that,
Perfect storm, yeah.
That's the way it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Like sometimes I think if you live near a racetrack or a highway, you can hear a motorcycle or a truck coming by, but other times you'll never hear it. They're still there.
That's interesting because I lived right next to both, as it turned out, when I was in Saratoga. But there'd be 20,000 people, 2 blocks away cheering, and sometimes you'd hear them, and sometimes you wouldn't. It was strange.
It has to do a lot with humidity, with the temperature, and different things like that.
So anyway, at Gettysburg,
they called this thing an anomaly, this acoustic shadow, where sounds go to die. They say acoustic shadows, the areas where sound from a certain direction on any given day will not penetrate these acoustic phenomena occur either because the sound waves are absorbed, refracted, or simply blown into a different direction. So sound is actually taken away. Relatively unnoticed in modern times, the wired world, because we communicate over, devices. During the Civil War, they didn't have that communication. Wartime communication in the 19th century, you can remember that when the Civil War was fought, long-distance communication in the United States were primitive by today's standards. Mm-hmm. They had telegraphs. While President Lincoln received battlefield reports from his commanders via telegraph, up-to-the-minute communications, particularly between always-on-the-go battle commanders, was frequently done through couriers. And that was from the beginning of warfare. Other information like battlefront status was disconcerting, according to historians, where you had to just simply listen to it. Commanders were not always up in the front lines. They would have themselves in a position where they could observe most of the battlefield. Therefore, Commander was unable to hear, fighting sounds, or whatever reason, he was effectively isolated from the conflict. Knowing that acoustic shadows interfered with command decisions during several major Civil War battles. One might even go as far to say the acoustic shadows determined the course of the entire war.
Man.
So let's go to Gettysburg. It's July 1863. Confederate General Robert E. Lee was aiming to get one decisive win so big it would drive the Union to seek for peace, because he knew the Confederacy, with their limited manufacturing capabilities, could not outlast the Union's industrial capacity.
Right.
So he wanted to have an army with a major battle and force them to a peace table where they could form two countries. But according to one theory, a bizarre phenomenon known as acoustic shadows may have helped play a bigger role in the defeat. As the summer heat bore down on the second day of fighting, Lee ordered Longstreet to attack Union troops at Cemetery Hill and take the virtually empty Little Round Top. Lieutenant General Richard S. Ewell, E-W-E-L-L, his men were to make a show of force opposite them to split the Union troops and draw them away from this hill. Ewell was to begin his actions on the sound of Longstreet's artillery barrage. Yes, Longstreet did take a long time to gather his men before attacking. He was on some kind of maneuver. He was very hesitant. He was always doing something that he wasn't supposed to do, basically.
Go ahead.
It would seem, if you read history about him.
Yes.
So Longstreet took his time to get there before his men could attack at the late afternoon. But according to physicists and military experts, for a long time after Longstreet had begun his attack, Ewell heard nothing and hence did not move his troops. When the fighting that day was over, Longstreet's men were narrowly defeated, and the Union had yet another high tactical advantage. So why didn't Ewell hear Longstreet's barrage? According to scientists, he was likely in the middle of an acoustic shadow, an atmospheric phenomenon caused by the combination of geography, heat, and wind, by which sound is stopped from traveling in one direction, even while it travels perfectly well in others. The hillsides of Gettysburg are just the sort of place where acoustic shadows can develop. More importantly, the hot temperatures, and they had gone back and looked, and they thought it was about 87 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you add together that there's over 100,000 men on the battlefield. There were 51,000 with Pickett and Ewell. The hillside, so the next near the ground possibly caused a dramatic upward reflection of sound waves. The next day, when Major General George Pickett, on his doomed charge, his men were cut down by Union troops positioned perfectly on Little Round Top. They had the high ground, and the very place Longstreet had barely lost. From then on, the Union had the upper hand in the Civil War. Because of this and other acoustic shadow events during the war, one might even go as so far to say that acoustic shadows determined the course of the entire war. Like I said, they list a number of other battles. Fort Donelson.
Hey, Jocko, can I interrupt for a minute? I wanted, curious if Valerie has any thoughts about that maybe it isn't the acoustic thing, there could be a mental thing or some other vibes that
some other thing going
creates this kind of silence,
It's the confusion of battle, for sure.
That's a good question. I wish I had a good answer for that. Sound is such a strange thing to wrap your head around. Like, I know I've heard things that are not possible to hear, yet my ears are hearing them. It's a common phenomenon in paranormals, hearing things that you shouldn't be hearing.
Yes, interesting. Like this
under normal circumstances. So I don't know. But it's a very interesting phenomenon, something I definitely would like to know more about.
Yeah, I'll go back to the saying where if you read the writings of Washington, of Andrew Jackson and Lee and all these generals that were involved in this, they always felt that there was some sort of power more powerful than them, and they would call it providence, which, they were alluring, alluding to a godly figure
helping them,
something to lead, what was going on. They were superstitious. We are still today. We don't know what's going on,
right?
What's what. But just to give you an idea, more people killed or wounded in the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania near its border with Maryland over July 1st through 3rd, 1863, than any other Civil War battle. And that means more than any battle that the U.S. military ever fought, because both sides were counted as casualties.
Right,
for America.
Wow, what a mess.
And you look at it, the turning point, and memorialized by our 16th president in a famous speech, Gettysburg witnessed the epic clash of two great armies at Little Round Top, Devil's Den, and Cemetery Ridge. Union General Gordon Meade and Confederate General Robert E. Lee fought fiercely until Lee's infantry assault, known as Pickett's Charge, was repulsed, and Lee retreated. Now, this was over 3 days.
Right, yeah.
So on the second day of battle, two of Lee's lieutenant generals, Richard S. Ewell and James Longstreet, were ordered to attack the Round Top Mountains from opposite sides. Ewell was to begin his attack when he heard Longstreet's artillery barrage. However, he never heard it. So this is over and over accounts saying the same thing. Longstreet's attack and Union General Meade were able to successfully defend against the assault. Later on, they asserted that the forces combined to create an acoustic shadow that prevented Ewell from hearing Longstreet. First, he assumes that the two large natural formations, Cemetery Ridge and Culp Hill, shielded many of the battle sounds from the general. Second, they believe that the hot temperature near the ground caused the waves to dramatically refract upward and perhaps later to hit a warm layer higher up in the atmosphere, sending out more rings of sound in support of the last point. They also noted that people in Pittsburgh, 150 miles away, heard the battle on July 1st.
How could that happen, though?
But those in Taneytown, 12 miles away, could not.
I want to throw it to, let me ask JJ something, okay? Because you're a sound guy. Sound waves. I watched that movie Contact the other night, which is actually a good movie with Jodie Foster and so on. And the whole thing kind of turns on the fact that sound waves reach this distant civilization. They get in touch with Earth. But sound waves can be affected by wind and stuff, right? They
can be affected by the weather easily. Like if you describe the theory of wave propagation, how does sound travel from the point of origin to your ear? Like
ripples in a pond.
Exactly. That's the old throw a stone in the pond and you see the waves go out in a circle.
Right.
The water is a great medium for sound. That's why sonar is so effective.
All right.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Mac,
but why does wind?
In the course of reading about this and researching it,
yes,
winds can blow those waves.
Yes, they can. Yeah, they do.
With the stone into the water. When the ripples come out, if a wind comes by, it'll distort them and blow them different ways.
Yeah, but why would wind, something like wind, have an effect on sound waves?
When you see temperature, right, and the mirages where you see the heat, like when you're driving, you see that heat coming off the road,
right.
That's what it's like. And so if there's a mountain or a ridge or a wind blowing, it'll change its direction.
That's crazy.
And if atmospheric layers, you talk to pilots. Cobra could probably tell us how. It's just like under the water in submarines with the layers of the water, the temperature.
Right, yeah,
the different layers.
Refracts sound and, different things. It's just a natural phenomenon.
When you think about it, it's really kind of nutty because these are waves but they go on forever no matter what. They explain how these waves left Earth.
But I think they lose their, intensity.
They lose their ability to propagate. Basically, it's like a sine wave. Okay, so as it hits some obstacles, like that piece of egg crate foam behind Mack's head, which is meant to absorb sound.
Yes,
our atmosphere is a lot like that, depending on the humidity, as Jocko mentioned. And the geography. When you walk out after a big snowfall, like the 12 inches of snow we had, and listen, it's quiet. It's a lot quieter than unless the ski mobile.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Snowmobile is out there,
right?
It's a lot quieter because that snow is absorbing a lot of the ambient sound that's around you at all times, traffic going by and whatnot.
I mean, Juan and Switch could probably tell us how, submarines have coatings and different. I'm not going to say what they are, but that sound bounces off. Aircraft today,
stealth fighters,
they have RAM coating, radar absorbing.
That was my job in the Navy, was to identify vessels based on what sounds they're propagating and the frequency of those sounds.
So the practical application of this from a military perspective is what military intelligence originally was designed to be. It was meteorology, enemy and terrain, or before they had the term meteorology, it was weather, enemy, and terrain. You have to understand that if you're going to be a military intelligence person.
Yes.
And that's why, and it's not new. Weather has always been, or meteorology today, has always been a major factor in that. And it was at least 2,000 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
But they didn't know about what's it called, Jocko?
Acoustic Shadows. Great name.
Yeah, they didn't know about that.
Great name for a band.
I think we've tried for years and years how science is always, the military said, if you control the weather, you control the battle.
Yeah.
Sure. We've tried to figure it out. I guess that's what the original Signal Corps, like you said, and signal intelligence was all about, right?
Yeah, right down to HOP, where they were, accused the U.S. government of trying to change the weather years ago, but they closed that place down.
Well, they don't know how that works or if it still does. But, you look at how they would use signal flags and flares and different things because they knew they couldn't count on sound.
Pigeons. Pigeons. Remember we did that show where they gave a pigeon a gold medal there in England?
Yeah.
Jocko, thank you very much.
There's one in the Smithsonian. He's stuffed.
Is he really?
I think he was the one from the Lost Battalion.
Oh, yeah.
In the First World War.
Saved them, kind of saved them. Jocko, thank you for that report. Thank you, Jocko. Let's give Jocko a round of applause. We're through.
Good job.
Sweeten up.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Even Valerie's cat is clapping. That's how
interesting topic.
It's very mystifying, to say the least.
Why don't we do this? I just have one.
Longstreet never, ever wanted to even make that attack.
No.
He fought tooth and nail not to do it.
Right.
I mean, he kind of disappeared and wasn't on time, and he always had these things where Lee was always looking for where he was.
Hey, be on time. You got to be on time when you're in war.
Him and Jeb Stewart, same kind of thing. He disappear with his cavalry and never be found.
Really? Yeah. No wonder they lost the war. All right. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Juan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Thunder Radio Network, this is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we've had for you tonight. We're supposed to be an all-Irish show, but our Irish guest didn't show up, as it turns out. Yeah, we're all drunk anyway, so look.
Do we have Irish guest insurance?
Hey, good idea. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of this. Okay. So anyway, but very quickly, girls, the very famous Juan is here. He's in his Beatle mode. Okay, Beatle mode.
I'm in definite Beatle mode.
And you're drinking KBR, that cocoa juice?
12% ABV, man.
12% alcohol. Holy cow. Wow. Okay. So no Coco tonight and no Raven tonight. All right. Maybe that's the vibe we're feeling. There's no Raven, there's no Coco. Maybe it's that dynamic which is causing us to roller coaster, according to our favorite empath who is here tonight. I'm going to introduce you now, Valerie Lofaso. Valerie, how are you tonight?
Doing great, Mac. Thanks for having me back.
Okay. Valerie's an empath, and she's also an author and so on. And we've been asking her during the show, what the pulse of the show is tonight. So do you want to weigh in now? I know we've asked you a number of times. It's always a different answer.
How was it so far?
Yeah, right. How was it so far?
Yeah, but you guys are pretty consistent though. It's a good vibe.
Good vibe.
There's good camaraderie. There's good banter. There's some teasing, but it's always mostly good natured
content, right?
Okay.
A lot of inappropriate content, but that's okay.
You said mostly, Club. Mostly.
Well, I didn't hear any names thrown, but Club.
Yeah, it's too bad because we were in a good mood here, and now someone tries to interject, some negativity. But that's all
I'm
right.
just an objective journalist.
This is so boy.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I report, you decide.
Okay, I like to say they're the best of friends, but who knows? I'm glad you're on separate sides of
it's true love.
True love. Okay,
Definitely in different counties.
Different counties. Yep. Okay. So anyway, Switchblade Steve Waters here. He's up on the pecking order because there's no Coco tonight. He is a beefsteak breakfast into the day. Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
Is that what they call it? Beefsteak?
Yeah, beefsteak.
Yeah, fried beefsteak.
Oh man, that's a Midwestern thing.
That means it could be any part.
Now they also have like normal steak as well.
Yeah. Right. Because what you're eating is like a heart or something.
He's eating roadkill.
Well, no, don't say that.
It's part of the beef. It's part of the cow. They don't tell you what part.
With enough spices and gravy, you can't even tell what road it came off.
Okay.
Exactly.
In some cases, it's mystery meat.
We're out of no. Wait a minute. Come on, you want those people to sue us, Denny's? I'm sure it's prime beef, prime A beef. Clubb, Willie Clubb. How you doing? Our security chief. He's here tonight.
I have to agree with Valerie. I think things have smoothed out. It was kind of tense here initially.
Wow. Okay.
There was something in the air. I agree. I don't know what it was, but certainly I'm feeling much better now, much more relieved and not as tense.
Hey, listen, do you have a little doll or something in front of you? What is that?
This is you do the Irish show. This is Barney O'Beer.
Barney O'Beer.
He's a good luck Irish beer. And whenever I buy a lottery ticket, the first thing I do is I pat his head.
Pat his head.
Is it working?
Okay. Is it working?
I won $20,000 on a scratch ticket a couple of years ago with him.
No way. Really? Whoa.
But I have to admit, I haven't done very well since.
You won $20,000 on a scratch ticket?
Yeah, $20 ticket. No, $30 ticket.
You kidding me?
Ticket.
When was this? Do we know you?
Right around that time.
Oh, really?
Hey, Mac, what happened?
Didn't spread any of that money around, did he?
Hold on.
We didn't get a taste.
Hold on.
Nobody got a taste.
The IRS
Because Father White
took 25% of it.
Let me say it. Now, listen, this is great. $20,000. What'd you say the IRS took 25%?
Well, they took, between the state and the IRS, it was about 30% they took.
Okay, really? Yeah, but still.
But I was very pleased.
So what'd you do? Did you blow it? Tell me you blew it somehow, right? Didn't you?
We did. We took a trip. Well, and then the grandkids got some stuff.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Oh, that's a great story.
Barney O'Beer is here whenever he's
Can you market those things? Wow, okay.
I'll have to send Mario to bear
him
over.
to say, Mac, that he blew it all in a strip joint in Revere.
Well,
right?
and the rest he spent foolishly, right? Okay, so
hey guys, next time we send Mario to bear over there, and he'll make sure we all get a good taste out of that.
He'll take care of Bonnie.
Nobody got a taste.
Hey, Agent X is here too. Agent X, the man who works at the agencies that works at the agencies.
Thank you for having me. And since our most welcome Irish guest did not show up,
yes,
I've been drinking Barry's Irish tea to console myself.
Okay, all right. We'll get to the bottom of it sometime. Maybe they'll be back and they'll explain their sudden disappearance. Okay. But anyway, is there?
Try and get some of the Celtic women on the show.
I got the.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right. I'm trying my best.
You're in show business, Mac. You should know how to contact Celtic women.
The dancers have dancers on the radio show. You mean?
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Okay.
They're a good show. They're good tape.
Well, if they're tap dancers, then we can hear them.
Oh,
Good
the
point,
Lord
Clubb.
of the Dance guy. Whoever made him Lord of anything.
He's
Jocko.
He's over the top. That guy's
JoJo.
weird.
JoJo.
Yes,
Jocko Johnson down there in the South. How are you? Have I introduced everyone now? Right? More or less, because I went out of order. I went out of order. Okay, so listen. Everything's going good. Why don't we put in this plug real quick. If you want your bag of swag, the best thing to do is to go on to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, and please, in the email, send us your mailing address. And what you get is a bag that's full of pins and buttons and 3D decals and bar coasters, of course. Okay, everyone wants extra bar coasters and
autographed picture of Juan.
Well, if you want to, do you want me to mail that stuff up to you? Then you can.
I just looked at my picture library and I'm going, this would be good for an autographed picture of Juan. Yeah, one of my shots at the other studio.
Can you deliver 100 photographs a month that I will need?
Sent to the universe.
Okay, I'll have to go to Staples.
There you go. Perfect.
And print it out.
But anyway, so just go on mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, and send us your mailing address, because people do send us emails that say, yeah, I'd love a bag of swag. And there's no way for us to mail it to them because they think it magically moves to the email or something. So just send Lois, as it turns out, your mailing address. And we'll get the bag of swag out to you. Toot sweet, as they say. While we're at it, why don't we say Homeless Rod Troops is our charity here on the show. Homeless Rod Troops. It's a military organization. It raises money to help post 9/11 veterans of our armed forces, mostly people who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan who came home missing a limb or something along those lines. What they do is, Homeless Rod Troops, what they do is they build them a home that makes it a little bit easier for them to get around, lower counter space, easier steps for them to get up and down, things like that. Then they give them the house. They give them the keys, rip up the mortgage. It's their house for free. And it turns out that when you give a helping hand like that to these veterans who really deserve it, like 85% of them go on to, get great jobs and raise a family and, have a really good life. So this really works. And Homeless Rod Troops, I think they've built something. It's closing in on 400 houses, one, if you can believe that.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's great, and it works. It works, okay? And
give them away.
And they give them to them. These people deserve it. It's another show, but the Veterans Administration should be ashamed that there's even an organization like this. But once again, Homeless Rod Troops and the spokesman for the group, this is a good gazinta, as they say in the biz, General Tom Landemeyer, who has been on the World War II trivia contest. Remember him, the general?
Yeah, I do.
He's going to be on in a couple of weeks. We're going to have another World War II trivia contest. But the twist is that as the prizes, we'll be giving away autographed copies of Wingman 21, the Jericho Storm, okay, to like 4 lucky winners. Wingman 21, the Jericho Storm, featuring fighter pilots Jocko Johnson and Switchblade Steve Ward, by the way.
Major figures in that novel, by the way, right, Jocko?
Okay, so you guys should autograph them, too. Or I'll just fake your autograph. How's that? Okay, so coming up in a few weeks, we're going to have the World War II Trivia Contest. And so what you should do now is just go right to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, send us an email, and say you want to have your name put in the magic fishbowl to be pulled out the night that we do the show, and maybe you'll win an autographed copy of Wingman 21, the Jericho Storm, by Mack Maloney. Yeah, okay, there's the plugs, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. We could sign him, Mac, on little stickers like the placards, and you slap them in the front of the book there. Switchy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Why don't I just fake your autographs? Okay. You must have a scroll. I could see Switch having a very kind of cursive thing, right? Right, Switch?
Well, it looks very like a famous person would sign his autograph.
Just a kind of line. Yeah, just a line. I've got a letter to some people. It's just a line. They can't be bothered. Anyway, I got that from one, as it turns out. But look, all right, so now it's time for Tales from the Fringe.
And now it's time for another story from the lost annals of the paranormal. It's time for Steve Ward's Report from the Fringe.
Okay, Switchy, Tales from a Fringe. What do you have for us tonight? Okay.
We already teased it with Edward J. Ruppelt, who became the head of Project Blue Book. But a lot happened to him before that event occurred. He joined the 677th Squadron, 444th Bomb Group of the 20th Air Force on December 14th, 1944. He was from Iowa. Now, most of the source of this comes from a book by Colin Bennett called An American Demonology. I'll explain that in just a moment. When we talked about Charles Fort, I used Colin Bennett's book on Charles Fort for much of it as well. He also wrote a book on George Adamski called Waiting for Orthon. Very interesting author. He writes, and I quote, "An American Demonology is the story of the flesh and blood of the prototype systems man that was Edward Ruppelt. No one was born more American than he. The demons were all around him in the aircraft and the weaponry. He had all the sacred knowledge of the Wright brothers and the madness of the astronauts. I offer this book to his memory, and may the gods bless forever his great American soul."
Really?
Now, it's just after midday on, this is an important date, August 14th, 1945. The young bombardier is flying above the Pacific. He's navigating a B-29 Super Fortress. He received a radio transmission. Anybody guess what radio transmission he received on August 14th, 1945?
Drop the bomb.
Well, the war had ended.
The war had ended. Okay.
It was over, right.
Don't drop the bomb.
He was actually, well, this is something I did not know. He was actually on the list for the Enola Gay as a navigator. If he was one, I don't know if he was the next in line or one of the possible backups if somebody
that was the first plane. That was the first plane that dropped an atom bomb. The Enola Gay.
Well, after he got after the war ended and after he got out, he joined Northrop Aviation Corporation, and they were known for their flying wing designs. And then shortly thereafter, he was recalled to service because the war in Korea started. And so January 1951, he became part of the 1125th. I don't even know how they pronounce it correctly. 1125th Field Activities Group.
1125th.
And his job was he was under Lieutenant Colonel Rosengard, and the Russian MiG-15s. I guess from what I understand, what they were doing, they had some parts of them that had crashed or whatever. So he was a part of the a team that was trying to figure out what they were doing. I mean, they would get parts of this and then try and understand the whole aircraft.
Wow.
Now, this Rosengard, this is the key thing here. He also headed Project Grudge. Now, Project Sign came before Grudge. Sign started in 1948. This is a year after Kenneth Arnold had his famous sighting over Washington State.
Right.
So Ruppelt gets kind of in on the tail end of Grudge. But he didn't know too much. I mean, he knew that the Air Force was investigating flying saucers and so forth, which, of course, is what they were talking about at the time. He was also connected with ATIC, the Air Technical Intelligence Center. There was a guy. Now, there were some people in there that were very negative toward the whole flying saucer thing.
Yes.
A guy named Watson, who was the chief of ATIC. He said, well, some of these pilots, they're suffering from fatigue. They're seeing reflections off the windshield, so they're mistaken in what they're seeing. But he said he was very disdainful of the citizenry that were reporting these things. At the end of every report, he said, there's a crackpot, a religious crank, or a malicious practical joker.
Right. Yes. This is a great part. We should do a show on just the history of the U.S. government and UFOs right after World War II to the beginning of the Korean War, and the way they handled it, and the way that they lied to the population is just unbelievable. They're saying all these things when they know that they're not true, when they know that these things are flying around. They had no idea what was going on. They still don't have any idea what's going on. Go ahead, switch.
And Ruppelt even found out that they had destroyed some evidence. Now, he was at Edwards Air Force Base, which was, of course, the central hub of all this testing. And I want to quote again from Colin Bennett. And this is from Chuck Yeager. Yeager said, "Being at Edwards in the 1950s, I was part of the greatest era in research flying in the history of aviation. In less than 5 years, a whole new Air Force was dumped in our laps for flight testing. From first to last flight, 7 days a week, the desert sky over the Mojave thundered from new and powerful afterburners." He said, "Man, we were the center of the world, the only place on earth to be if you love to fly." And so that's where these events took place.
Israel.
Now, January 20th, 1951. Now, again, this is before Ruppelt was actually part of any investigative team, but he knew about all this stuff that was going on at the time. Mid-Continental Airlines DC-3 takes off from Sioux City, and they're en route to Omaha. The pilot and the crew sight a strange bluish white light, and it's almost on a dead-ahead collision. And it's avoided. It zips past them. It looks like, they describe it as looking at something like a wingless B-29. And then it circles back, or whatever it does. They haven't really, they can't keep track of it. But then it's flying next to it and keeping pace with the plane. There was a full colonel on board. He sees it, makes a report. Now, this is where Ruppelt found out they were guilty of doublethink. This investigation team, he was understood that the Air Force was supposed to be taking this seriously and looking at the flying saucer phenomena in a rational manner and trying to understand it.
Right.
But this particular report, even though it came from a full colonel, got a big belly laugh, and he found out that publicly, there was still a lot of disdain from these reports. And he couldn't understand it because it wasn't that far away from Pearl Harbor. And why wouldn't you be concerned about objects that you could not identify in the sky as possibly being something hostile, something you had to, check out? And so he called it doublethink. And the official line was among the people there, lock up the crazy people and you won't see UFOs anymore. That was ATIC. But when he talked to some of these people privately, they were concerned about it.
Right,
and they did take it seriously, and they did take the pilot seriously. But publicly, even within this group, I don't mean press-wide publicly, they were very disdainful of it.
It's really something that it's a misconception that they started. They started, I think, this on purpose with the was it the Condon report or one of those reports where
that followed up after they killed Blue Book.
Right.
They still weren't taking it seriously. That was a civilian.
Was
at Condon, the Colorado University. And they still were not taking it seriously.
But that ridicule factor that happened, that was birthed in the late 40s, early 50s, where if you see one of these things, you're automatically a kook, has really, I think, done a lot.
Job and everything else.
I think it has done a lot to kind of deflate enthusiasm for really, important scientists to look into it, because there's always going to be that kind of ha-ha factor, So they did their job well. The U.S. government back then in the 50s with the misinformation, it's still around today.
Now, at this point, again, Ruppelt still isn't connected, but he knows what's going on. There's an enlisted officer named Lieutenant W. Cummings. He was competent, Ruppelt writes, and he takes over the investigation. And then on April 27th, 1950, there's an incident at White Sands Proving Grounds, of course, where they had tested the German V-2 rockets. Now, they were testing one of these missiles, and there's cameras running and so forth, all kinds of camera crews, and all of a sudden, this object is zipping across the sky, and at least at that time, Ruppelt recognized that at least one member of the crew, he grabbed a handset and alerted everybody there. Now, most of the people, their film was shot, but they did get some footage of this thing apparently. And it was just kind of a blur. And later on, when Ruppelt became more connected, he followed up on this because there wasn't anything being released about it. And so a year later, he got through some connections. He got, and this is under Project Grudge. He got a hold of some of the files, which were in chaos.
Yes.
But he contacted a major who contacted the laboratory staff, and it turned out that they had a couple cameras on this thing. They did some kind of a correction factor. And the long story short is, it turns out that this object was captured by 2 cameras. The UFO was traveling at higher than 40,000 feet, at over 2,000 miles per hour, and it was 300 feet in diameter.
Really? 300 feet? That's a football field. Holy cow.
That's pretty dynamic.
Damn.
Colonel Watson, what I mentioned earlier, he actually destroyed some of the recordings of one of the earlier incidents. There was a meeting, and this is the old, they had the old wire recorders, I guess. And he actually destroyed some of the evidence, and Ruppelt couldn't believe it. And then Ruppelt gets involved. He's appointed to, and I didn't even know this, Project Grudge went into another phase called New Grudge. This is before Blue Book.
New Grudge.
And yeah, I'd never heard that. And so 2 men from Republic Aviation, Robert Johnson and a Brewster, were put in place, and they were good men. And they actually were working on trying to interpret UFOs. And let me just get another quick quote here. A very quick quote, if I can find it.
Yes. Okay, what's interesting about this is that at this point the Air Force they kind of forced into doing something, because there's so much of this going around. So many people are seeing UFOs happening. The Korean War is coming up soon. They know something's going to happen, and they're as what you were saying. How do we know they're not Russian? How do we know they're not Red Chinese or something? I mean, that should have been on the forefront of their mind, not laughing at people when they see these things. But go ahead, Switch.
So he quotes Ruppelt from the report on unidentified flying objects, which came several years later. He said, if anyone became anti-flying saucer, it was no longer capable of making an unbiased evaluation of a report, out he went. Conversely, anyone who became a believer was through. We were too busy during the initial phases of the project to speculate as to whether all the unknowns were spaceships, space monsters, Soviet weapons, or ethereal visions. So there, for at least a period of time, there were some people that were seriously trying to get to the bottom of this. January 21st, 1952, Navy pilot at Mitchell Air Force Base. He's in a Grumman TBM Avenger, and he was an experienced lieutenant commander with World War II experience. He sees an anomalous object shaped like the top of a torpedo. It was circling the airfield at about 2,500 feet. And the object started a gradual climb. So he's following it in his Avenger. And at one point, he tries to maneuver to intercept it, but it makes a 180, accelerates to the point where the Avenger was just left in the dust. And so Ruppelt, when he writes about it, he decides to let the pilot speak for himself. And he says, I don't know what it was, but I've never seen anything like it before. Maybe it was a spaceship. So Ruppelt, in the report on unidentified flying objects, ends chapter 9, where he says, I went back to Dayton, stunned. Maybe it was a spaceship. And then, in March 1952, New Grudge becomes Project Blue Book.
Wow. Yeah, they were under, like I said, they were under kind of political pressure for them to, that they had to do something. And if I remember this guy.
They had to formalize the research and the investigation. Right?
But they made it seem like it was NASA, like this big building with people walking around with white coats on. It was Ruppelt, like 2 sergeants who could type, and a secretary. That was it,
Right.
And what they used to do.
We'll get into more of that. But X brought up the TV show Project Blue Book.
Right.
And he was right about it, the good production values and acting and so forth. My problem with it was while I don't mind artistic license and that sort of thing, I thought they just got too far afield in some of the episodes. There were a few of them I didn't enjoy. I liked the guy they got to portray Dr. Hynek, even though Dr. Hynek wasn't exactly an action hero like he seemed to be in the Project Blue Book. And, you know, some of the intrigue they manufactured with the Russian spy and all that really wasn't my cup of tea. But and I just wish
it didn't happen.
I wish they had let us, this team here, write it. I mean, we actually have a writer in our midst.
Can you imagine that? Imagine us getting a development deal. Where would we go to party? Where would we have the week-long party? Hey, Valerie, let's check in with you.
Down here, it's nice and warm.
Yeah, we're not going to South Carolina. I can guarantee you that. Valerie, we got about 5 minutes left on the show. You want to take our pulse?
Pulse has mellowed out a little bit, I think. Winding down.
Okay.
Seems like.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all kind of
coming in for a landing.
In for a landing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Perfectly perfectly said,
I feel
JJ.
that way now.
And listen, your cat hasn't made any other appearances other than what have we disgusted him too? Is that it?
Came by not too long ago.
Oh, did he really? Okay, all right.
She's waiting for me to be done so I can play with her. She's bored.
Oh, wow. So. Okay, well,
they do wait, Mac.
Well,
they do wait, and they do give you looks.
Yes.
Really?
What the hell am I waiting for?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. All right.
You got some help.
A couple of human hands there helping the cat.
Oh, look at that.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Special delivery.
I have a bad history with cats, so I'm not. She looks anxious though. So listen,
Is it an all-black cat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
You don't mind the cat walking around the house, black cat walking around all the time? The bad luck?
Nope. No bad luck here.
It's not. It's not bad luck. That's such a stupid notion.
Oh yeah.
Ever. Where did that come from?
I don't know. Ask the what was it? The 71 Mets. They were winning by 3 games, and someone threw a black cat on the field. They lost 4 in a row.
He was eating the mice. They hired that cat.
Hey. So anyway, listen, we're at the end of the show there, Switchy. Where's the image there, brother, of the
let me get with my people here.
The train crashed. I want to thank. Oops. Oh, there he goes. I guess I want to thank our Irish friend for not showing up because we did kind of a counter-Irish show. I had like this 10 things that only Irish people would understand. Now, Clubb, you go over there. You're gonna be living over there at some point, right?
Well, for the month of July.
Yeah, huh? Okay, and I'm Irish, but I'm not. I've never been to Ireland, but I guess they can be eccentric.
Yeah, it depends where you go.
Yeah. Friendly.
Oh, very friendly. Yeah.
Never on time. They're like musicians. Never on time.
They're called the Fighting Irish, like the football team.
Yeah,
right.
When they have to,
Can we get reports from you, Clubb? Can we get some video?
Well, I can do Skype. I can do Zoom from there. Why not? Huh?
Yeah, that'd be great.
One of the places I'm staying, though, is out in the country, so I don't know what kind of internet connection it's going to have. But
are you going to go to Craigie Island?
No.
That's ever watch Father Ted?
No. Is that some PBS show?
It's a great BBC
comedy. That's a real old one.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I remember that.
They were on Craigie Island.
Yeah, I did.
I just watched a few episodes the other day. They're hilarious.
I don't know what you're talking about. Reports from Clubb will be over. I'm assuming that the door is going to be open, right, for us, for the crew?
There's always room, yeah. Always room.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. If you can find us.
If you can find us. I got to tell you this real quick. When X was, had to have his security check, he puts me down as the source for them to come
here we go.
and interview, okay? So it's like 8 in the morning, and these people show up, and they grill me for 3 hours on him. And, it was crazy. It was really kind of nuts. And so anyway, at one point, they said, how come he's always going to Ireland, okay? And he had dual citizenship at the time, right? Right, X? He's crying about it now.
He'll do, yes, sir.
But I know that there was a castle in his family that he used to go over and stay at, right? Right? Is that a good way of putting it?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, they were very interested in the castle, as it turns out.
Yeah, because you had to volunteer it.
They asked me why you go over, where you stay when you go over to Ireland. What am I going to say? You stay at the freaking, the Econo Hotel or something? O'Connell?
He's over there kissing the Blarney Stone.
There he is. You better do it at night after they wash it off.
Wherever he wants.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, that's our Irish show. This is our Irish show, you know. If you're drunk enough to enjoy it, that's the whole idea. Hang on. Anyway, so listen, so I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Valerie. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, Valerie.
I had a great time.
Really? Wait, and can you plug anything? What are you're going to be part of a book soon?
Yeah, I don't have the name, except it's going to be part of the Beyond the Paranormal series from Paul and Ben Eno. But you can find me on Facebook at Valerie Lofaso, author and empathic medium. And, you know, as stuff comes up, I'll post it on there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, the show's kind of timeless, but then within a week, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be playing the LA Rams in the Super Bowl. As an empath, are you picking up any vibe from either one of those teams and the 4.5 point spread?
I can't say that I am, unfortunately.
No,
I'll let you know if I get anything.
Okay, let us know.
Please let us know.
Let us know quickly, as it turns out. Thank you very much.
The Bengals, it's like
I
destiny,
got my money
man.
on Bengals.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If they win, it will be a classic, underdog wins big time.
Yeah, Joe Burrow.
They've won 6 games in the past 2 years, and suddenly they're in the Super Bowl.
Destiny.
Yikes. Destiny, I guess. Anyway. X, thanks for joining us. X, thanks for taking time from your busy schedule, and your friend who wrote The Wolf of Klontarf. Is that how you
Klontarf.
Klontarf.
Right. Okay.
Right. And his next book is on the way.
On the
it's
way.
going to be Counter-Strike in Hispania. And it's Wolf the Quarrelsome in medieval Spain.
Wolf the Quarrelsome.
Working title. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wolf the Quarrelsome. All right. I can see a movie.
Wolf the
Yeah. He wasn't a butcher. He
quarrelsome?
was just he would quarrel every once in a while. You know? He was, yeah. Let's
It's
see.
really cool how they named all these guys back then.
It sounds like when they got to him, they were running out of
I
names.
think.
Frankly.
One. It's Fuelen Antrodak
Okay.
in Irish and Ulfreda
Yes.
in Viking.
Yeah. Slash.
So it's history.
Slash Klingon. It's history.
It's good history.
That's why we're
It's
all
good
paying
that you
attention.
know that stuff. That's
Speaking of
it's an
history,
awesome thing to know. Agent X.
how the Irish kicked the Vikings out of Ireland. That's what the whole story is about.
I know.
It turns out the
Yes.
the Vikings were
just gotta
kind of
read, Ron.
they were kind of wussies, as it turns out. History's been wrong all this.
And in the next one, my friend says the Irish kicked the Moors out of Spain. At
Really?
least
Wow.
they started.
Holy cow. We should have had the Irish in Vietnam. They could have kicked.
And the Moors, they invaded everybody.
Right.
Like the Vikings.
They did.
See what happened to them. Jocko, Jocko Johnson, thanks for joining us, Jocko, in your report.
Thank you. Every
right.
time.
We'll talk to you
Have
soon.
a great time.
What's in your future? A pizza or something?
I don't know. I had an apple and some cheese, a couple nuts. So
There
probably
you
not.
go.
An apple and some
Minestrone
cheese.
soup, maybe.
Where's Jocko? What have you done with him? Wow, you eat apple and cheese?
He does.
Does he
eat
really?
good.
Yeah, he eats good. Yeah, you send me recipes. That's right. Thanks for joining us. Switchy, of course, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Clubb, thank you for joining us. And rub that doll's head for us, please.
You bet. Well, it's been fun tonight.
I mean, if you could rub it like Sunday morning, that would be good. That would be good for us. And just, kind of keep us in mind, okay?
Yeah, I will, and I'll share the winnings.
4
I'm
points.
going to mail him some tickets so he can rub them. And then
Yeah, you
mail
ain't
them back.
kidding, man. We'll rub your head.
Give him a kiss on the lips with me.
Hey, listen, when you scratched the 20 grand, what you do, you must have jumped up 6 feet off the ground. It must have been just like, what a wing, right?
I was in the office,
Yeah.
And I was
the IRS
with people when I just opened it. I scratched it out after coffee break, and there was a bunch of people there in a conference room. We were doing business, and so I just turned colors. And I waited and got up and went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I did it. And then I left for the day.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't stay for the rest of the day?
Club, if it had another 0 at the end, you would have told them off to stick it, right?
That's right.
but Clubber, that was in Massachusetts, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So that means out of the 20,000, you got
they took
$211, right?
They took 30%.
Between federal and state.
The state of Massachusetts took the rest.
State took 6%, and the federal took about 25%.
Yeah.
It was about 30%.
But still, man, you still get,
Oh, I wasn't complaining.
Yes, I wouldn't complain. I
Well
don't think
done.
$30.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Nice.
That's
Not
gonna
for
be
nothing.
awesome.
What are they doing for us if they got to be the partners? They're not partners. They're not working with us.
Who are you talking about?
You know what I'm saying? It's like we got to cut them in on the action, but they're not earners.
But the taxpayer, the people who collect taxes,
they're not earners. They're crooks.
They don't have to be earners. They're taking on.
Jocko's got
earners.
He's got the lingo.
Okay.
Explain this to Max, will you?
Hey, listen.
Jocko says they're crooks.
Next time you want to build a $15 billion aircraft carrier, that's what they collect the money for.
Yeah.
We're already paying for it.
Anyway, wow, what a show this has been. This will be interesting if it ever makes it on the air. So thanks, everybody. And I guess until you hear us next time, and we should shout out to Coco and the Raven for not joining us tonight.
We love you, Coco. We love you, Raven. We're thinking about you.
Yeah, we miss you tonight.
Yeah, kind of. Wow.
You missed a good one, particularly the top 10. That was a winner.
Wow, Club. Oh, the venom coming out at the end of the show.
I'm sorry. I had to get it out.
All right. So we want to thank everyone for listening. We want to thank everyone for downloading us on as a podcast. The numbers are like through the roof. We're going to be in 100,000 download range in about 2 months or so. 100,000.
Yeah, we're really grateful on that, too.
That's really crazy when you think it's just kind of a party on the air. But thank you for listening in. Thanks for all the emails. And this is Mac for the entire gang saying until the next time you hear us, be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.